Welcome to the hashtag Let's Get Louder podcast. I am back. It is me, loud Miami fan, LMF Chase Blake, your host of this wonderful podcast. And it has been a long while since I've done this. And I apologize to those who have followed me, those who had my back. It was a hard summer, not just on the field, but for me, off the field. And we'll get into that. But this episode is special because Peter Bendix has gutted the fish. He's gutted the tank. Picture owning an aquarium, a decent sized aquarium. And what happens? Well, a new president of baseball operation comes in. He lets that aquarium simmer. He doesn't clean it. He doesn't go in and clean all the poop from the bottom. He just lets it and it gets a little cloudy. You're picturing this with me? And that is what happened over the 2024 season. But that is okay because Peter Bendix now is fixing everything. And we're going to discuss that on this episode of LMF's hashtag Let's Get Louder podcast. So the first round of the Major League Baseball playoffs is almost over. One game left. We're not here to discuss that, but that's just to tell you, preface where we're at right now and when I'm filming and recording this. And you can see it live on the hashtag Let's Get Louder podcast channel on YouTube, or you might be listening on one of your favorite podcast networks, and that's awesome. But I do ask you to subscribe, like, give me a 5-star rating and comments. That's so others can enjoy this podcast as well. So the Miami Marlins finished with 100 losses this season. But that's not all. We also finished with losing our manager of the year, Skip Schumacher, decided to walk. And this wasn't something that we were not prepared for. Skip Schumacher, agent will say, or someone from the Marlins, we're going to say it came from Skip's side, I believe. Skip's side might have released this information back in April when the team just had lost 7 games or made that first trade with the Rise. I forget when it happened, early May, sometime in April. But it was announced that Skip Schumacher asked the ownership and Bruce Sherman and asked the ownership or the new president of baseball operations to waive his last year of option, which would have come to fruition in 2025. He asked the team to waive that. And you know what? I give the ownership and I give Peter Bendix some credit here. They didn't have to waive that. They did it because of respect. They did it out of a partnership, hoping probably that they could make it work and bring Skip back, but that's not what happened, as we know. So Skip Schumacher is out of as the Marlins manager. You can find recordings of Peter Pratt on Locked On Marlins of him and I discussing this. It happened. Skip is gone, and that's okay because we're going to move on. Because moving on is what you have to do in cases like this. You can't say, oh, what if? Why did the ownership not sign him, etc. Look, Skip didn't want to be here anymore. Let's be clear here. Skip did not want to be here anymore, and that's okay. He gave up on the team. He gave up on this ownership. He gave up on the direction that team is going. They as the title of this is gutting the fish. Peter Bendix gutted the fish throughout the season. We know this. We haven't talked about it on this podcast, but let's be real. Peter Bendix got the fish. You traded all the stars, quote unquote stars. Jazz Chisholm Jr. is on the Yankees and he's a star right when he gets there. But when he played for Miami, he's just another player, according to the league. But now he's shown that he's a star out in New York. Tanner Scott, Luis Arise, Brian Hoeing, all on the Padres. They're stars too. Trevor Rogers, Baltimore Orioles, not so much a star. Saw what happened there. He was sent down to AAA after 3 starts. AJ Puck Josh Bell didn't help the Diamondbacks get to the playoffs. They tried. Diamondbacks were almost there. They were almost to the playoffs, but they didn't get there. The fish have been gutted. And what happened? We went after every DFA'd player possible to see if they had anything left in them. That is the Rays way of baseball. And you know what? They may have hit a home run here because Derek Hill, a little older, but he has something left to prove. And he showed he can play center field defense on this team for this team. Christian Pache, no longer with the team. He elected free agency in the minor leagues today. Jose Devers. This is a big one, guys. Jose Devers is now a free agent for the first time in his career, a minor league free agent. Jose Devers, if you remember, is the last remaining person in that trade for Mike Stanton. Crazy how things work out. But what happens now? What happens now with the Miami Marlins? Well, Peter Bendix has made it clear the direction he's taken. He's fired everybody. Get out of Lone Depot Park. All of Skip's coaching staff is no longer with the team. That includes Mel Stoudemire Jr. And look, Mel, if you ever listen to this podcast, it was a pleasure screaming Steve Ryan or screaming ball behind you guys. Thank you for encouraging me to be louder cheering on this team. Luis Urieta. Hope he comes back. The former bench coach like Tim. John Jay may come back, but everybody is gone. The dietary nutritionist is gone, all the way down to that. They are reorganizing this whole team. Peter Bendix is building it Peter Bendix's way. And that's okay, because this team just lost 100 games. You can't say that those people were the problem, but you can't say those people solved it. There's so many injuries this season from the pitching staff, which was wiped by April 15th. We had no pitching to start the season. Giving Jesus Luzardo some credit, giving Ryan Weathers some credit. That bullpen was atrocious for them in the first 2 weeks of the season. They finally calmed down. But by that time, we were 1-9. 2-13. However, this team has been gutted. So what happens next, fans? The fans' reaction on Twitter right now is to scream, cry, shout, be angry. No, Peter Bendix, no, we hate you. Look, you can't hate him for wanting to build this team the way he wants to build this team. He's been clear. He didn't say much on his end-of-year press conference. We all agree with that. But what Peter Bendix has made clear is whatever happened in this organization before he got here, all the hirings that he has control over now did not belong. From the scouting department up to the major league manager wasn't his choice. And now we're going to see him build this franchise. How can I be excited after all my favorite players got dealt? The guys that I spent 4 years building a relationship are gone. Jazz Chisholm Jr. talked frequently. Gone. Luis Arise talked infrequently. Gone. Skip Schumacher and I had some private conversations on Twitter. Gone. Devin Smeltzer, minor league pitcher, no longer with this team. Of course, Garrett Hampson, nice guy as well. Love you, G. Hamp. No longer with this team. But that was last offseason. They're all gone. So how can I be excited for the future? Well, I'm still friends with Dane Myers. Let's be clear. I have one connection left in Dane Myers, and he's an awesome guy. Follow him on Instagram and Twitter. I think this team's in the right direction. I really do. This team is headed in the right direction. We're a 100-loss team. But if you look at the players, Davison De Los Santos, Agustin Ramirez, bats in our minors, they could be up this year. The pitching is coming back. I've been clear about this, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, have I been clear that Sandy Alcantara will not be a Marlin next year. I was wrong. They're not trading him this offseason. They've said that. I hope he's not lying, because that's actually some news that Peter Bendix has shared. He expects Sandy Alcantara to start opening day 2025 at home versus the Pirates, just like this season, for a 4-game set. Sandy's 1-3 in opening day, so hopefully he goes 2-3 starting next season. But I do fully expect Sandy Alcantara to be traded by the trade deadline in 2025. $17.2 million. This is a reconstruction. They don't want to be paying a guy $17.2 or $3 million next year or in 2026. And then they have a team option in 2027 of $21 million. 21.5. I don't see them doing that. Can they? Maybe. But I fully expect him to be gone. I also see Jesus Luzardo being traded maybe this offseason, if not after a couple starts next season. But that's the business, because we're not winning the World Series next year. Could we get lucky and be like the Kansas City Royals of 2023 into 24? 2023, they lost 106 games. 2024, the Kansas City Royals just knocked out the Baltimore Orioles out of the playoffs in the wild card. Hey, Skip, if you're listening, and that Baltimore job opens up with Hyde being fired because he couldn't lead his team to a playoff win at home for the second season when they have home field advantage, I'd go for that, Skip. You would look great in Oriole orange. Moving forward, the Miami Marlins have a plan. They have a Pobo on this team who's going to build it from the bottom up. Look, I live in a nice house. But if we knock this house down, if the roof was broken and you need to knock the whole house out and rebuild it brand new, and when you rebuild it brand new, it's going to last you for 30, 50 years, 100 years. Look, I'll take 3 consecutive playoff berths for the Miami Marlins. And if Peter Bendix can do that, well, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, people of all ages who are listening to this hashtag Let's Get Louder podcast, if Peter Bendix could give us 3 to 5 straight playoff appearances and the Marlins win a series and I get to go to a playoff game every year, multiple, if we luckily get hot like the New York Mets this season, if we get hot like the San Diego Padres, if we get hot like the Detroit Tigers are this season, and they make a playoff run, all of this will be worth it. All of it will be worth it. This episode of hashtag Let's Get Louder is brought to you by InTheClutch.com. Major League Players Baseball Association approved t-shirts of all in-season things for your favorite teams. Is it Red October in Philadelphia? Maybe. Awesome shirts right now on InTheClutch.com. Padres shirts, Dodger shirts, 50-50 shirts by Shohei Ohtani. InTheClutch.com is the place for you and all baseball fans. Doesn't matter what city you cheer for when your team is in. Go to InTheClutch.com. They have a t-shirt just there for you. How about my boy Jazz Chisholm Jr.? Many shirts available in his new Yankee gear. Use hashtag, sorry, not hashtag, but use code LMF at checkout. That's LMF at checkout for a discount on your entire purchase. So fill that cart up. Make sure to use coupon code LMF. So where do the Marlins go from here? Connor Norby could be your second baseman, could be your third baseman. It looks like they're going to keep Xavier Edwards at shortstop. Pitching staff coming back. Agustin Ramirez could be the opening day catcher. Davison De Los Santos could be the opening day first baseman. Feel bad for Troy Johnston. You've heard me talk about him on this podcast multiple times. Still has not gotten his opportunity. But you know who did? Griffin Conine. And hopefully he's back. Hometown fan favorite right off the bat. Hit 2 or 3 home runs in a short stint here. Showed he belongs or could play in the majors. Center fielder could be Dane Myers. Full time. Could be Derek Hill and Dane Myers, a platoon. Kyle Stowers. Jesus Sanchez is the question mark. What does Peter Bendix do with Jesus Sanchez? That is a question that I expect answered. Jesus Sanchez is going to be the highest paid position player. Already is. Made 2.5, I think, this season. And he's going to go up to over 3, maybe even closer to 4. Second year of arbitration. I don't know if they're going to want to pay him. He would look great in a Colorado Rockies uniform. Peter Pratt and I discussed on Locked On Marlins. Go to that last episode from the last week of September. Had a good discussion on Jesus Sanchez. But I don't expect him to be back. I just don't. They didn't pay Jazz Chisholm 3.7 or 3.3, one of the two this season. They didn't want to pay him, so they ousted him, and he had another 2.5 years of control. Jesus Sanchez has the same. He'll have another year of control, 2 years of control. Maybe package him up, the two Jesuses together, Jesus Luzardo, Jesus Sanchez. Max Meyer is a question mark. Does he belong in the bullpen or can he start? He had the fiery start. They sent him down. Kind of gave up his will, it looked like, in the game. This team has a future. That's the point, ladies and gentlemen. This team has a future. We have a direction. You can say that Kim Ng set us up, left us in a playoff contention team. All they had to do was add. They could have spent money. They could have brought Soler back. They could have signed Jesus Luzardo to a long-term deal. They could have signed Luis Ariz to a couple years deal. They could have. They could have brought in another pitcher to. They could have brought in a free agent bat. Tim Anderson didn't work out. They could have brought in a free agent bat. But it wouldn't have helped the franchise. Sure, maybe we would have won 75 games instead of losing 100 games and only winning 62. 2 years ago, we won 69. 3 years ago, we won 67. 2023, of course, you won 84, and then you fall right back down to 62, but that was a plan. Peter Bendix kept the team together. He didn't add. We can all agree he didn't add, but he kept the team together, the nucleus, the core. Soler wouldn't have made that much of a difference. The pitching staff was so injured, and that's why they gutted everything. They gutted the training staff. I agree with that. I hate people losing their jobs, but I agree with that. I agree that if your team doesn't perform, you need to change things out. This team, once again, didn't hit well. Probably the same as 23, if not that close. I think they were close on RBIs, close on hits. The numbers were so close because Skip Schumacher, best manager in the league, even though we lost 100 games, best manager in the league because Skip Schumacher kept this team fighting. They were in a lot of games in September and August when it didn't matter anymore. They kept playing. These young kids were kept being pushed by Schumacher and staff. But when you lose 100 games, something has to change. And I'm not saying Skip should have left. He should be part of the rebuild. He didn't want to be. But we're not living in the past. We're focusing on the future right now and what's next now that Peter Bendix has gutted the fish tank. He's gutted Lone Depot Park. You're going to see new people. You're going to see new people in the clubhouse. I'm going to have to meet a whole new group of people, and they're going to have to learn me, and I'm a little difficult, as you know. I'm loud, I'm obnoxious, but I'm a fan, and they'll appreciate that. Baseball players do. Hey, we're going to be okay. The Miami Marlins are going to be fine. The Houston Astros between 2011, 12, 13 lost 100 games each season. By 2017, they were World Series champions. Take it for what it's worth. We don't have to cheat to win under AJ Hinch, who has his Tigers. Woo! Great, best team in baseball right now going into the playoffs. Remind me a lot of 03. But don't you want to be like the Astros? Don't you want to be like the Rays and make the playoffs every year? I mean, I'd take the Astros over the Rays, but I want to be like that. I want to make the playoffs. I want to be the Braves. I want to make the playoffs 7 straight years. If you win one World Series out of those 7, and all the money they've spent, they won 1, and it's worth it. Phillies have spent all this money. They're the number 2 seed behind the Dodgers, who spent more money. One of them can win the World Series this year. But they haven't yet. These teams that spend still have not won a World Series. The New York Mets, who not gutted, but traded their big acquisitions in 2023. This was supposed to be a rebuild year, but you get a team that wants to grow together, that plays well together, that gels together, and they win together. The Mets are proving that. We'll see who wins game 3 of the Milwaukee Mets series tonight. Milwaukee never wins series at home, so I fully expect them to lose and the Mets move on. Point being, the Miami Marlins are in a better spot today with that whole team gutted. Not team, the whole park gutted, from dietary, from clubhouse gutted, from a training staff. It's rebuild time. Let Peter Bendix build. I don't want to call it cooking. Let Peter Bendix build. He lies to us all the time because he has a plan. He's not going to tell us his plan. Peter Bendix wants to win. He didn't come here to lose. He came here to build a contending team from bottom up. He said it. I'm investing money and payroll in things behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. Things we don't see. And I'm fully okay with that. Because I want this team to have all the analytics in the world. If that's the direction they're going, let them do it right. I want this team to have a good farm system. Not that we watch the minors, but you see how many injuries happen in the majors. What if you have that guy that's ready to come up, the Sanoas of this year? What if you have 20 of them in your, let's go 10 of them in your minor leagues? You're in a good spot. That's why building from the bottom up matters. And I'm not defending the ownership. I hate that they're cheap. But I have three choices. I could not root for the Marlins and switch teams. Look, I like the Orioles. I could totally turn the room behind me. I'd have to sell all this and then build an Oriole museum in here with Cal Ripken stuff everywhere and Brady Anderson. I'm not going to do that. I'm a Marlins fan for life. I was 7 years old when this team became a franchise. They're going into their 32nd season. And I will be there for it, cheering them on. So going back to my three choices, one, I could stop rooting for them. Stop cheering for them. Lone Depot Park's over an hour from here. I could just as easily watch another team on MLB TV. Just as easy. Option two, I could be a fan of the Marlins or call myself a fan and then tear it apart. Tear Bendix apart. I hate this ownership. I hate them. They don't spend any money. I could tear them apart. I could be angry. I could be bitter. Why am I wasting my money on them? But I'm a fan. Or I could be level-headed and go, look, the team just lost 100 games. 2023 was an outlier. Every baseball analyst said it wasn't something that could be maintained. Everything would have to go right. I said after 2022 that if the Marlins won half, they lost 41 run games in 22, Mattingly's last year. If they won half of those, they would have had a better record than the Phillies and have made the playoffs. And that's what happened in 23. They won the one-run games. 2024, there weren't that many one-run games. But you got blown out a lot. Not towards the end of the season, but the beginning of the season. Couldn't hold the lead. Our bullpen was blowing everything. Not Tanner Scott. He's amazing. But you get it. I'm taking the third choice. I'm going to root for this team, cheer for this team. I have no say in the team. I'm going to root for the players that don our uniform, and I'm going to hope they win. Maybe I won't buy the new jerseys that they come out with to replace the old City Connects. The red jersey is gone. Maybe I won't buy the new ones. Maybe that's the punishment I give them. But I am a season ticket holder. I'm remaining a season ticket holder because just if they could be like the Kansas City Royals, who lost again 106 games in 2023, 2024 make the playoffs, they're going to have home games. Best of 5. They get at least 2 home games now. Moving on from round 1. I believe they get the Yankees. Believe so. Could be wrong. Maybe Detroit gets the Yankees. One of the two get the Yankees. Either way, Kansas City fans, Kansas City, Missouri fans get 2 home playoff games. And when Royals make the playoffs, when Detroit makes the playoffs and they're hot, that could be the Marlins. I want to be that team. I want to draft well. Yes, they drafted young guys, PJ Morlando. First pick of the draft, young 17-year-old, 18-year-old. Who knows how he'll do? We hope he does well and great. They compare him to, I think, Gunnar Henderson. We'll see. 5 years, we'll see. Peter Bendix's first draft. I want a Bobby Witt Jr. type pick as the number one or number two overall pick in 2024's draft. And the Marlins have that by losing 100 games. This episode of hashtag Let's Get Louder again was brought to you by InTheClutch.com. Thank you to them. Great t-shirts. I'm going to try to do this weekly now. Maybe big news coming where I can't, but we'll find out soon enough. Which fan are you? Let me know in the comments. Are you A, the one that's going to leave? B, the one that wants to cheer for the Marlins but will bash them and the ownership and the players? Or will you be like me and pick C? Number 3 type fan. Die hard. Win, lose, well, you can't tie. No matter how bad or how much money or no money the ownership spends, just lost the TV contract. We'll see what happens. Which fan are you? Let me know in the comments. Let me know on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. You can follow me at Loud Miami Fan. I am Chase Blake, and this has been an episode of hashtag Let's Get Louder.